Let's hope it all works out. Tonight on the program. Hello.
Hello.
We got the old split screen thing going.
Yeah, we do. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. Julia, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are lucky enough, and I am pleased that you're here, that we're on Thursday Night Live Music. And it's another one. And tonight on the show, this one right here is Julia Miller, which of course you know. Julia, I don't know. Let's start off, Julia, with telling me, where are you specifically?
I'm in the studio at Achenbach Records in Chicago.
Right. That's big time. That's big time for this little thing.
Well, you're big time, Lou. You're big time.
I'm very excited. Ladies and gentlemen, Julie and I are friends for years now. We've been collaborating in Chicago, in the Chicago area, I guess probably since 2013, 14, something like that.
Yep.
And it sort of evolved into, and I'm sure you probably agree with me, into a very comfortable gig, you know, where, I don't know, like when I know I'm playing with you, when I'm playing with Volcano Radar, I get excited. And I get excited because it's part of the experiment of life, I think, and that.
Well, thank you. I'm excited too. I have to interject though, because I'm me, Julia, and Volcano Radar is actually me, myself, and my partner Elvio. So
that is true.
So
that's true. That's true. Thank you for clarifying that.
No, it's okay.
And
you can find me there too.
And I was mentioning before too, I think in the promo that Julia, you are in a number of bands and also doing your solo thing. And I don't know. Let's see. How long ago did it happen that you find yourself as president of Achenbach Records?
May of 2018.
Okay. That's a big deal. It was a big deal for all of us when it happened, knowing that that the Coster stuff is in great hands and keeps going. And we can talk about that as much as you'd like. I could talk about it for a while if you don't mind.
Well, it's it's not we can talk about it. It's our stuff though, and we respect
it is your stuff.
We respect the Kesters and the legacy, and we respect the label, and intend to keep it going, and the history. But it's all we've taken it to a different place.
You have, and that's kind of where I was going to go with that. Is that not only did you reinvent it, but yeah, you're taking care of the archives, but also it's done a lot in the last 2 years, and
yeah,
I think we all can attest to how busy you have been, and the output from Achenbach the last 2 years has been incredible. It's pretty much. It seems to me that every week, every 2 weeks, there's a new release, and it's a fresh release. I mean, and of course you can re-release things, but I'm saying like this is like fresh off the press stuff, and it just seems to keep coming, and
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And personally, I go, okay, I hope that she will still say yes when there's a time for you and I to do something.
Of course.
and
I did, right?
And you did. Tonight is a testament to that. And I thank you so much, Julia, for saying yes. For me, I just, like I said before, I get excited. I sort of get like a kid in a candy store, an experimental candy store. We're like, here it comes.
Well, there you are.
We're going to do a thing. And the other part of it is that the relationship makes me feel so comfortable. That I feel like I can channel something beyond myself, which is very cool. And so I thank you for that.
Thank you.
One last thing I wanted to bring up about Achenbach Records, and its relationship to sort of just music in Chicago itself. And I guess I was having a dialogue with somebody recently about Chicago and New York and the difference in the jazz scene and I think one of the things that Chicago, I mean, I wouldn't say it invented it, but it certainly is a fulcrum point and a keystone for blues, right? And Chicago is very blues, and I think about what sort of New York lacks. And this is somebody who's, loving New York. What makes New York and Chicago different is that Chicago just breathes and embodies the blues.
Well, electric blues particularly.
Electric blues.
Yeah, a certain style of blues particularly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool. It kind of like makes it what it is. And it's sort of, I find that even when I'll go back and listen to something I've listened to before that I thought was like straight up jazz, this is Chicago something, this is Chicago jazz, and I'm like, wait a minute. It's really based on, it's the blues is just right there. And it's different from sort of UK jazz and New York jazz, you would ever say, is that it's very much rooted in, like you're saying, electric blues, which is very cool. As a musician, have you adapted that a little bit more in the last 2 years, or has it kind of always been there?
Well, for me, it's always been there. For other people, when they listen to me, maybe not. But in terms of acoustic playing or steel string playing in a blues form, that and improvising and learning how to follow a form, that was definitely something I did first years ago. A lot of my electric guitar solos that verge towards rock are kind of pentatonic and bendy. However, it's not something that I would say that I play blues. I think that would be it would be disrespectful in a way, but it's a huge influence to me, and especially a historic influence and a listening influence and a guitaristic influence. In my composition too, it was something that I used in a more tuning and tonal kind of way. I adapted the scales and the bending and the ornamentation. Sort of interpreted that.
Okay.
So I kind of do my thing. One of the things here at Delmark is the big Joe Williams 9-string guitar, and the idea of a multi-strung instrument that's in its own tuning, and that he would just kind of adapt the tuning whatever he wanted and change it however he wanted. That's very much up my alley. That's what comes out of me is very different stylistically, but conceptually, I'm right there. So
the Joe Williams prepared guitar, or
it is kind of like that, yeah, for sure. He was like he did that so that people wouldn't rip him off, that people that no, but seriously, this is my tuning, you can't copy it. It's mine.
Yeah,
and I understand. I get that.
Right.
Also, I feel like he'd worked with what he had, and he worked with what he had, and he also liked to kind of tinker and play with things.
Right.
Which is very guitaristic.
Yeah, that's very
they're
improvising.
Compulsive tinkerers.
Right, and getting to something to where finding your voice, if for lack of a better term. And is it fair to say that you're interacting with more blues musicians in the last 2 years than you have the last 4 years? Is that not safe to say, or just because of what you're doing at the studio? Are you working? You're working with more blues musicians?
Yeah.
In
a professional way, for sure.
Professionally, yeah. It'll be interesting to see as you perform out as yourself, or as you and LBO with Volcano Radar and your other endeavors, if that influences you at all.
Well, I did blues jam sessions years ago I played, blues jam sessions years ago. For me, it's though as a player, it's about the vibe, and I have been so focused on restoring this label and sort of rehabbing it and rebooting it that my vibe has been really off as a player. No, it has, and which is why I was really happy that you asked, because I feel comfortable with you, but it's a very different, low key vibe. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good kind of hangout, which I also really appreciate.
One of the reasons why I asked Volcano Raider the band, or you and Albio and Harrison Bankhead to do the Jazz Occurrence in Aurora, and this is probably going back a year, I would think, is because I was thinking of you as a friend and as a musician, going, all right, she's probably up to her, above her head in what she's doing, and by the way, what you're doing, and so I thought, this is sort of like my job, or what I can do is to say, hey, I've got a gig, can you be on it? Can you put this on the schedule, basically? And and you did it. It was cool. Remind me. It's just because it's out of my head. The drummer, who was a great guy. The drummer on that gig. Do you remember? Blues drummer.
The Touch. Willie Hayes.
Willie Hayes. Yes, of course. Willie Hayes.
Willie the Touch. Yeah,
that's right. He's awesome. He's awesome. He was like, I think he was like the first to arrive in the morning. It was like, ladies and gentlemen, so you know, this was at Oswego Fine Arts High School, and it was, we're talking about musicians that are like, okay, you stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, or your gig is at like 10 p.m. And this is one of those like, we go on at like 8:30 a.m. things, which is more of an educator's schedule. Shout out to Michael Scora for letting us do this for years. But also like, so Willie showed up and he's getting ready, and my memory from the thing is, and you weren't there, is sometimes I have a daughter, so every once in a while I have like glitter on things that you don't usually have glitter on. So I had a handkerchief or something in my back pocket, and I'm trying to be cool, talking to Willie Hayes, and I pull out my handkerchief to do something, and glitter flies all over the place. He kind of just looked at me like. And I was like, yeah, I had to sort of make up an excuse that sounded like I have a daughter. And, sometimes he's like, it's okay.
No, he's awesome. He's really,
and him and Harrison Bankhead working together that day was great too.
Well, they're contemporaries, and they had it age-wise, they're contemporaries, and they hadn't met because their scenes are so different, especially as young men. And the young players or younger players, and so it was really cool that they got a chance, and they really vibed off each other. They liked playing with each other, but it was great to introduce them because they were like contemporaries but had never crossed paths. Right,
and that's, one of the pleasures of my simple life is that sometimes I get to put together a thing where Willie Hayes and Harrison Bankhead play for the first time out. Which is like, oh man,
which is huge.
It's huge. You can't make that up. And I'm just like,
it's huge.
It's part of me is trying not to be a huge fan and just sort of stand there and go.
But it's okay to be a fan. They're good people to be fans of. Both of them. Yeah,
that is true.
I'm fans of both of them, for the record.
Yes, me too. Julia, we have some art we could make if you would like.
I have guitars here behind me.
You do? I've got
and amps and things.
I've got this. I'm trying something new. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Thursday Night Live Music. This is Julia Miller on the program. One of the things I love to do when I work with Julia is there's the voice in my head that says, what have you not done before that you would like to do? And this is a version of that because I've been doing this weekly program since April. So there's a good couple handfuls of of guests have been on, and since I Julia, I have to challenge myself a little bit. So one of the things I always like to do when I'm working with Julia is working on the top of a canvas and sort of working above, as opposed to an upright canvas that's the traditional way. And I guess it lends me more to a slap it down, and sort of it gives me more space to work in terms of when I'm trying to capture the sound. So this is what I'm going to try.
Okay.
I've
Well,
got. I've got
I
this
have
on the table.
I have my guitar synth here, and I have a sitar guitar here as well.
So we'll see how this works. This is me in all the glorious space here. I'm sort of surrounded by artwork from over the years, and
Yeah, I love your space.
it's
And
again,
this
this
is me
is.
surrounded by headphones.
But I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, how cool is this that the other half of this program is live from Delmark Records, which I know this happens in sub-frequency. I've seen it on WDCB, and you've done plenty of live things from the studio. But for it to be part of my little shanty is an honor. So thank you, Julia.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you.
I will say, hey, my mom is on. How you doing, Mom?
Hi, Mom.
Moms are great, aren't they?
They are.
Julia, whenever you feel like you are prepared and ready, feel free to do a thing, and I'll follow through.
Okay.
Cool? Julie, I am having such a good time over here.
Yeah, was it okay? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you fine. I can hear you perfectly.
Good.
You're in the room. Julie, I miss doing this.
Yeah, I missed it
Tell
too.
you,
Yeah, I
you
missed
know,
it too. It's really odd, actually, not to do it. I don't know. I can't. I mean, we could have a long discussion about it, but I don't think it's really necessary.
no, just it makes our situation even more real, you know.
Yeah.
Um, just on an emotional level. It's like I'm just having a good time. I'm getting lost,
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, Julie, I appreciate your time and your artistry, but there's also part of me. It's just like, man, I just miss grooving to she who sounds like nobody else. You know, I'm
Thank
like,
you.
oh man, she's got like I said like before, it's like, yeah, she's got the blues in there, and there's like a '70s soundtrack thing going on, and
Yeah, it is kind of
it's
getting there a little bit.
ambient, and it's oh man, it's
Some kind
just
of.
um.
Yeah.
Do you have? I mean, this is just a sort of a curious as a fan question too. Like, uh, you're an educator.
Well,
I
yeah, but not really anymore per se.
that's what I was going to sort of bring up. My next one of my questions was being, which I ask a lot of the musicians that I work with, was how has it changed for you as an educator since this all came down? And I kind of thought to myself, well, last 2 years have been different for you since you
Yeah.
became president of Delmark Records. But the sort of topic of my brain here was like, do you have guitarists coming to you saying like, how do you do it? And you should. Um,
You know, I did when I was playing out more. I did
yeah,
when I was playing out more. But people are funny, Lou. People look at you and they see what they see. So like when I have my president hat on, that's what they see.
yeah,
And also I haven't really been playing out or anything. I've been really super focused, which I take on myself. I get
right.
that,
That's
but
fine.
I've been super focused on the business side more than I've ever been in my life, because
Yes,
I really wanted to do a good job,
yes,
and
and we
I,
appreciate that.
yeah, I just, it's hard. It's hard to balance those things for me, and I'm kind of finding more of a balance now. Um, but so yeah, there was a point where people did. Um, and I hope they will again. And I
Yeah,
hope,
yeah,
because that means that I'm out more as a musician as well, and doing my thing.
yes, yes. And there's recordings out there. That's the good thing about uh, the document of a
Yeah,
recorded record is that it's going to outlast us,
yeah,
essentially, and that's cool. That means you'll be influencing musicians 100 years from now, and who knows what. I love that. I love that notion
it's
of the leg.
important. It's heavy. It can be super heavy, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a really great thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
And both LBO and I take it really seriously, obviously, but it's a we have a lot of music in our ears, especially him. Um, I'm older than people think. And no, but it's something where we really trust and we really sincerely try to pick the best stuff, because and help people in a long-term way, because we know that it's important and we know it's going to be around and part of this legacy. We get that.
that, that's right. That's right. Briefly, just throw me the one. This is probably hard to pick, but the next, I'd say, release. But there's some live things happening now, right? I mean,
There are.
it's kicking up.
There are.
Give me one that you're very excited about, so we can get excited about it.
We will be doing things with Epiphany. Delmark will be, I think, the third Thursday, correct me if I'm wrong, each month, starting next month, at Epiphany Arts Center. I know that Jeff Bradfield is doing is also playing for the Hyde Park Art Center this weekend, at a yet undisclosed location. And Jeff and Dana Hall, and that trio is Ben Goldberg is having a record coming out very soon. Although that trio is not playing at Hyde Park Art Center, but Jeff is.
But Jeff is, and
Yeah.
Jeff's amazing. I mean,
And we will be
Jeff,
streaming. Oh my gosh, tomorrow.
yes,
Tomorrow from Delmark. This just the reason why it's not on my mind as much because it just came up today. We're working with a new streaming company from California who's going to do a broadcast tomorrow at 4 p.m. of ragtime star Reginald Robinson from the studio.
really.
A piano broadcast, yes.
Ooh.
And of course, we just did the Jimmy Johnson last week from the studio, and we'll be doing more
Yes.
and more and more from the studio too. So there's a bunch of stuff, and Jimmy's every Saturday from his house too.
That's great. That's great.
Lots of stuff.
That's exciting. I remember when when the curtain first came down back in March, right? On my brain was like, I got to call Julia and see what's going on, or see how you were thinking, sort of as a creative with your feet and your hands, you're in the dirt, you're making the fruit, you're growing it, and seeing how you're feeling and where you're at. And I did that with a few others, but I wanted to see where you thought it was going and where we could, what's going to happen. And I think, I think it's safe to say that things in terms of music production and streaming and live concerts are going to be different from now on. I don't think there's going to be it's going to go back to the way it was. I think now people are going to almost require a little bit of that's great, but it's streaming somewhere, right? Or
Yeah, and also the streaming is raising the bar. It's a very different. It's a different kind of creative thing, but it's also raising the bar. We feel like when we do streaming, we really want it to be professional, and we want it to be a very high quality experience for the listener, but also for the musicians too.
yes,
really. I mean, from the studio,
No,
you have the
of
studio,
course.
and its sound should be great. And
I guess I was laughing to myself because of what we're doing right now, which is about as simple and low tech as you can get.
but it's not though. You're just seeing me with my guitar, and there's all this stuff back here. And your thing isn't low tech. You have a system behind what you do. You have a process behind what you do. And also, one thing that I really miss are the more casual jamming gigs that we used to do. And this kind of is like that, which I thought, okay, this would be something where I can let my vibe come out and hang out with Lou a bit, which I really, really miss.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Mike Alamana's
Mike.
here. Mike's going to be on the show in a few weeks. Thank you, Mike, for saying yes. It's nice to sort of, with this weekend being the Hyde Park thing cooking up and Delmark cooking up more with what you're doing, what's happening there. It's like sort of like this collective feel of even though it's coming into the fall season, it feels like a spring vibe. You know what I mean? Like a growth.
Yeah, it's kind of turned around. The equinox was the other day. I really felt that the whole season change was like, boom, happened. I'm a super vibey person, really.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I like the seasons and gardens and all that. People don't think that about me, but it's really true. But I have to be kind of in a different way in the business side. I guess. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's all me in my head. I don't know. I should play and not talk.
Well, speaking of that, Julia, and we're coming down to less than 2 minutes for the show. I want to thank you so much just for opening up. One of the things that I love doing with you is the emotional openness that you have of how you play. And even though there's a structure in there, and you're pulling from outer space, basically, in my mind, and from the earth, of course. It's that I know it's you, and that you put your personality in what you do. And I want to thank you for doing that in your creative life, your professional life. I didn't even ask you how the family was doing. Is everybody okay?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah,
Good.
doing okay. High school at home, freshman year at home, which is he's doing really good, I have to say, but it's heavy. It's really like It's sad a little, you know.
It is. It is. It is.
And your family, how is your family?
Good. Good. We've sort of adapted. Now it's sort of gotten into a sort of a routine.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess like everything else in life, we've sort of improvised and adapted to the situation,
Hmm.
and here we are. Julia, thank you so much for being on the program, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
This
you for
has been
having me.
oh, thank you, Julia. Thank you. This is like again, this is like I'm having such a giddy time over here, and now it's going to end. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Thursday Night Life Music. My guest tonight has been the one and only Julia Miller. Julia, I can't wait to see you soon.
Yeah, me too. Thank you,
See you.
Lou, very
Thanks.
much.
Of course.
You say.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing?